Hello everybody and welcome back to another What If Civilization Started Over video. And today we're going to be looking at the second part of the Cold War, and it's going to be a pretty big one. In the last episode we saw the Malaysian Revolution as well as this Chinese country right here break into two. We also saw some other things happening, like Spain joining up with the Square Alliance to take down a blue country that was right here. And that's going to help a lot, as now they both have more land. It'll be easier to do a lot of stuff, and some of that land was valuable. And there's a very small area where Spain has access to the sea right over here in the Mediterranean. But that's going to help us. And we saw that. We also saw the American government declare neutrality, as well as some other people joining alliances, such as we have the Chinese team on the right side over here joining in an alliance, as well as the cream colored team joining in with the red team's alliance, as well as this Russian government being part of the long rectangle alliance. And then we have one more thing to get to, and that's going to be an economic boom. And this boom should have happened a long time ago for one of these countries, but it really didn't, and they're just remaining like a top power, but they're not as good as they could have been. And this is where a new leader comes into power in the brown team. And this leader is going to be very aggressive, and it's going to be not really a dictatorship, but a very limited rights democracy, you could say. I mean, they still have like basic rights, like freedom of speech and like freedom of the press and stuff like that. But women's rights are still not the best, and African American rights still aren't the best. But they do have some, like they have like the main rights. They just can't like go to like same place as other people. They have to go to their own special kind. But they're going to immediately declare war on this team right here. And they say, we're coming, they're going to take their land unless they give up 2 provinces. So they end up not, so they just take these provinces up here, just like this. And eventually they're going to be able to keep most of them, besides the provinces up here. These go back. And now we'll pick that. And just like that, the brown team has more land. And I'm going to recolor this part because they don't have it. And so the correct team immediately got kind of like exposed, I guess you could say. And the next thing they're going to be doing is they're going to be, this team is going to be going to make an alliance, and that alliance is going to be with, there's a lot of alliances around them. They're bordering 3 alliances on their own, as this area has the most alliances besides for Europe, you could say, because Europe has 3 alliances as well. But this place already has 3, and they're going to be making the 4th alliance. And this is going to involve a lot of these roguelike countries, as well as Sri Lanka. And we're going to be seeing, it's going to be, we're going to make like a triangle. We'll do right triangle. And this country is going to join. Sri Lanka is going to join. And as well as this country right here, they're going to join. The main reason they're going to join is because they want, like, because this land is still occupied by this country right here. And that's supposed to go to them. So they're going to be mad, and they're going to tell them, I'm going to invade them. Are you guys going to help me? And they say yes, and they'll help them build up their military. And eventually they go in. And this country is a weaker one, but that's not going to stop them as they march straight through the capital and keep going. But they only keep going once everywhere is on their side. And now we're going to see them actually taking this land right here. They're going to get the bottommost provinces. And then this top one is just going to be their puppet. And we're going to keep it. We're going to make it probably a darker color. And now we just have to make the puppet outline. So they basically own the entire coast on this part, which is very good for them, as they'll get a lot of like shipped imports and all that kind of stuff. And now we're going to be seeing something in Oceania. And last time we also saw the formation of this new country right here. These little Pacific Islands country. And now, this episode, we're going to be seeing the empire. If you remember, this empire is a union. And the main reason it is an empire is because the definition of empire differs, but the one that I've seen a lot is a place, like a country with many states inside. So not like America, but like how the British Empire had like tons of colonies. It's kind of like that, but where instead they had the yellow team, and the yellow team had like borders of like this back when they were at thing. And if you remember, that yellow team was actually a part of Africa. They had one of the farthest away colonies, and they lived like right here. Like all this area was theirs. But they made the colony down here, and that's where they survived at. They did not survive in Africa. And they're actually still a thing, they're just part of the Union. So, yes, this country is still surprisingly still here from episode 1. But just like how like the red team, they're not the same. The same government, and like they've been in wars and stuff, but they haven't changed. But anyway, they're gonna start in this major city. We're gonna go out. And we're just gonna keep expanding out. This is one of those where they're not trying to get like land and people back. They're trying to overthrow the government. And a lot of people are on board with this. As well as a good amount of people up here. And also, this entire coast is linked up. And all the side over here, it gets taken over. And this is where we see really the first pushback. And it's going to be like right up here in the north. As they're pushing back pretty well. Except their armies kind of turn on them. And they make and the armies of both teams right up here, they turn on each other and they make their own government. So this is like a military-ran government right here. And eventually it gets about this big. And it's going to get, this one's going to pick up steam as well. As it goes this way, and eventually it takes over all the coast. And they're going to be focused on fighting that one off because it's closer to the capital. And it has a major city now. But down here, the yellow team ends up taking this bottom major city and this top major city. And they gain back a lot of land and pushes. Because they don't have as much troops down here as they probably should. And the global view of this empire is very poor because they don't really like empires. Because of the rules of like the UN. They don't like why do you exist? You aren't supposed to. But they're like, can't defend yourself now, as they barely have any coastline. But their navy is pretty good as they start pushing down here. And they actually have something that most countries don't. This is mainly the reason why they got number 10. And it's because they have nuclear submarines. And I think one other country has these, and that would be the Russian team or the red team. Either of those probably have them. They've probably been sold to by this country. But immediately, even though they've already pushed up with like some of these ships, and they haven't launched any. They've just launched like long range missiles, and then something happens, and this is going to make everyone mad. But this is going to be something very bad, and a nuke gets launched accidentally because they thought it was a long-range missile, and it gets launched right here, right there. And if you'll see, if I were to change this country to like a different color, let's say this color, it didn't hit any major cities, which is good. But it's still impactful as it kills about 40,000 people. And that's going to be very impactful. And now this is going to be one of the places where the Cold War is like it's unifying people. And for the first time, we see the Red Team Alliance send aid, and the Korean Team Alliance send aid through this area. This one, to that one. So they're all aiding each other, and one major thing to note is, I've said, like, America's out of the Cold War, and it's going to mainly be between these three. But Russia is going to have very little to do with it, as what they're planning to do is they're planning just to take land inside of Europe from the Brown Team that used to exist. And they're not really going to be involved in the Cold War as much, besides for, mainly there's going to be the Cold War between the Red Team and this team up here. So, Korean Team Alliance and the Red Team Alliance, they're going to be going to war with each other in the Cold War. I mean, not actual war, Cold War. And then the Russian team is going to kind of be going up against, I mean, of course they will have, like, high tensions around here with the Green Team. But mainly, they're worried about this new alliance, the Square Alliance, that has the Purple Team, the Orange Team, and the Spanish Team, which will stop them from getting any countries down in Africa. But they'd barely be able to reach that far anyways. They probably have to make a puppet or something. But they don't really like that. So now we can see that next we see something happening up here. And that's going to be another breakaway. And before we get back to the other one, and that's going to be this little province right here is going to be breaking away. Just like that. And it's eventually, somehow it's going to get its hands on land up here for some weird reason. And as you'll see, they're not in any alliance, so no one can really come to help. But eventually, another side's going to pop up. And so this side's going to pop up. And there's going to be another side. And that's going to be this side. That's going to come in, take all this land. And then we have one more side. And that's going to be a green side. And this one is going to be the biggest one out of them all. Just like that. But we can see in major cities that there is this country is really underpopulated. It doesn't have very many people living in it compared to this country right here, which has a ton of people living in it. It has a ton. And the most populous country right now is probably going to be either the Chinese team, the Korean team, the Mongolian team, the Red Team, or it could be like the Brown Team, because they have some land in places, but the South African team, it could also be, but those are mainly going to be the competitors. But getting back to this, the government's basically just collapsed as we see another team popping up. And this is going to go undisputed for several weeks, but eventually, the one who probably gets the most land out of it is probably going to be this team right here. Then this green team will also get that province. the blue team is going to get that province. But this team gets this province. Then the purple team, who has like the original capital, is going to take back that. And then it's really going to go unresolved a lot from here. But eventually they can work out a speed right there.
So fast.
And they also work out a resolution right here. And then eventually they can agree that the blue team gets this province, the purple team gets this province. Then down here the border is going to be very weird, but we can see where the capital goes in other cities. As the blue team is going to be down there in that escalade. White team on theirs, that one on theirs. Purple team is just going to keep that capital. And meanwhile, this green team is right there. Then we also see that this team, right, the green team, seizes control of this area. And this area in return for the blue area right here. So now we have all this. And that's going to do it for this area. We have a lot of new countries, Central Asia. But we're going to see, now we're going back to the Civil War down here. That was still happening during this. I was just catching up to date with it. And that nuclear explosion, it's just going to propel them more to attack back. And eventually, they have no more corral left. They have no morale. And they're going to, now with even getting even more support from people, they march in. They eventually take out all of Central Oceania, or Australia. And eventually, this team is going to be able to do a little bit against this one up here. And as they move in, and now a lot of people are angry in the capital, and eventually a fight breaks out, and that's just going to make people very mad as the capital gets taken by a new group and all the areas surrounding it. As they're all taken, as well as some areas over here. And now it doesn't really have a government anymore, and it doesn't have any coastal access, so all those ships it had they don't have anymore. And it's just going to be split up by the surrounding teams. And eventually they meet in the middle, about here. And all this land goes to this team. And then some other land will go to this team to about right there. And remember, these places were also getting help by other nations. And eventually, towards the end, we see this country come in to some of the rest of the land. And it's going to take a bit over. And then the rest goes to the new pink one right here. And now the empire is dead. And that's really the last empire, unless you count the brown team, which is sort of like the empire now, their new leader, but they're not. And that's gonna make like Russia mad, kind of, but they're not gonna do anything. And then we'll get to the count of stuff. Right after this, we'll get to the nuke count. But we're going to see the peace treaty. Okay, and now we can see in the peace treaty, it looks just like this. And first of all, we'll get to the yellow team, which got way more land than they originally had. They have a lot of land. And then we get to this one, which was like an overthrow. This one's like created by the military. And it's going to immediately be pretty powerful as it gets a hold of 2 nuclear warships. Of course, they don't have nukes in them, but they do have the warships, so that's good for them. Then we have the pink team, which got all this land. And then we have this team right over here, the Papua New Guinea team. And they only wanted 2 provinces. They're like, you can keep the rest. We only wanted 2. So they got 2 provinces. And so that is the new Oceania. It is a very different change if you look at the map and zoom out. It looks very different, and so it's going to be like that. But now we're going to be seeing something happening in America as we see the alliance right here, this economical alliance, and this team is going to join it. Just like that. So now we have a very big economical alliance over here. And so now there's only really 2 economical alliances. And then something's going to happen. And that's going to be the red team making an economical alliance. And it's going to be a square right there. This country is going to join. That country is going to join. And a lot of these weaker countries in Africa are going to accept. And that one's going to accept. And that's going to do it for today's video. I hope you enjoy. But before I end, we're going to look at the nuke count. And I'm going to turn off alliances, as that could be very distracting. First of all, red team, nope, they don't have 38 anymore. They have 53 nukes. They rise a lot. They now have a lot of nukes. 29 nukes goes to 35 nukes. So now they have 35 nukes. 4 nukes goes to, and that now goes to 5 nukes. Then we have the 2 nukes over here, and that's going to be changed into 6 nukes. So they produced a lot of nukes there. The 4 nukes down here is just going to go up to 5 nukes. Just like that. And then, so that's the count over there. America's not going to have any more. And then over here, Korea has 23 nukes. They rise probably the most, going from 9 to 23. If you don't, like, the red team also rise a ton. And as you can see, a lot of them came from that. And then the red team is going to lose a nuke. 2 nukes. Now it's 3 nukes. So what's happening, you might ask? Well, first of all, they go down 50 nukes. And the brown team goes up to 3 nukes. Our next nuclear power is here. And with the new rule of the leader, it's going to be a big one. This might be one of the biggest things that's happened so far. And we're going, yep, 3 nukes. Just like that. And that's going to do it for today's episode. I hope you all enjoyed, and I will see you in the next one. Bye.